Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Lekon Onobanjo, and here are the stories making headlines beyond the continent. Britain's head of state, King Charles III, officially appointed Labour leader Keir Starmer as Prime Minister on Friday during an audience at Buckingham Palace. A photograph released by the palace showed the monarch shaking hands with Starmer, whose party won a landslide election victory. The king earlier accepted the resignation of Conservative leader Rishi Sunak. Starmer's centre-left opposition Labour Party swept to a landslide general election victory, ending 14 years of right-wing Conservative rule. Well, for more on the election, our international correspondent Afua Hagan tells us more.
The UK electorate has spoken. The Labour Party have been elected to form a new government under the new Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The Labour Party won 412 seats in Parliament, gaining 211 from the last election in 2019. The Conservatives held on to only 121 seats and lost 250 seats in the process. Sir Keir has been appointed by the King, replacing Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister. Mr Sunak vowed to remain the Conservative Party leader until a successor is chosen.
To the country, I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry. I have given this job my all, but you have sent a clear signal that the government of the United Kingdom must change.
Sir Keir Starmer has gone on to appoint his cabinet and will get to grips with the big issues facing the UK in the coming days.
I have just returned from Buckingham Palace, where I accepted an invitation from His Majesty the King to form the next government of this great nation.
Labour's victory came when Tory support collapsed, leading to a 20-point drop, leaving them with only 121 seats. Despite only a 2% increase in national vote share, Labour took the victory. The Liberal Democrats won 71 seats, their best result in a century. Reform UK gained 4 MPs. Labour's cautious campaign retained their polling lead, but they did lose some strongholds to pro-Gaza independence. For News Central, I'm Afua Hagan.
Meanwhile, after his opposition, the Labour Party defeated the ruling Conservatives in the general election, as predicted by many polls, Keir Starmer pledged on Friday to start a period of national renewal in the country. News Central's correspondent Bernard Akede tells us more about the new Prime Minister-elect.
Born on 2nd September 1962, Sir Keir Rodney Starmer is a Britain politician and barrister who has served as leader of the Labour Party since 2020. He has been member of the Parliament for Holborn and St Pancras since 2015 and previously served as leader of the opposition from 2020 to 2024 and as director of public prosecution from 2008 to 2013. Following the Labour Party's victory at the 2024 general elections, Starmer is set to succeed Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Starmer was politically active from an early age and joined the Labour Party's Young Socialists at the age of 16. He graduated with a Bachelor's of Law degree from the University of Leeds in 1985 and gained a postgraduate Bachelor of Civil Law degree at St Edmund Hall at the University of Oxford in 1986. After being called to bar, Starmer practiced predominantly in criminal defense work, specializing in human rights. Starmer was elected to the House of Commons at the 2015 general elections. As a backbencher, he supported the unsuccessful Britain Stronger in Europe campaign in the 2016 European Union membership referendum. He was appointed Shadow Minister for Immigration by Jeremy Corbyn, but resigned from his role in June 2016 as part of the wider Shadow Cabinet resignation in protest of Corbyn's leadership. Following Jeremy Corbyn's resignation after Labour's defeat at the 2019 general elections, Starmer succeeded him as the party leader by winning the 2020 leadership election on a left-wing platform. As the Labour leader, Starmer has repositioned the party away from the left and towards the political centre. He has emphasized the importance of eliminating anti-Semitism within the party a controversial issue during Corbyn's leadership. In 2023, Starmer set out 5 missions for his government, targeting issues such as economic growth, health, clean energy, crime, and education. Starmer led Labour to a landslide victory in the 2024 general elections, ending 14 years of Conservative rule.
In this room, right here, beats the heart of our democracy, not in Westminster or Whitehall, but in town halls and community centres up and down the country, in polling stations and voting booths, and most of all, in the hands of the people who hold the power of the vote. It all starts here.
With his victory in the polls, all eyes will now be on Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party to see in what direction they will steer the UK and how it pans out for the citizens, the country's allies, and its international relations. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has made Rachel Reeves Britain's first female Chancellor as he appoints his new cabinet to get on with the job quickly. One of his easiest appointments for the new Prime Minister was Reeves as his new Chancellor. She played a major role in the campaign and as a former Bank of England economist has helped bring economic credibility back to Labour from the wreckage of the Jeremy Corbyn years. Reeves is the first female to hold the second most important role in government in 708 years of the office being in existence. Earlier, Angela Rayner was handed her own department as Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, taken over from Michael Gove. To discuss this, we are joined by our international correspondent, Afua Hagan. Afua, thank you so much for joining us once again. So we just read that choosing Rachel Reeves, of course, by Starmer was like more or less like the easiest of tasks for him, having to choose her as the new Chancellor. Tell us, why did that have to happen? Why is it? Is it because of a pedigree, past achievements, or what she's been able to do in the economic scene?
Well, Rachel Reeves is rare in that she's in this job as Chancellor of Exchequer, the only woman to ever do the job in its existence, but also she's a career economist. That's what she's done her whole life. 45 years old, she was an economist, then joined the Labour Party and was a backbench MP, but economics, has been her whole life. And so her appointment to Chancellor of the Exchequer was an obvious one. Now, she started off by saying there isn't a lot of money left in the coffers and things may be tight. We may see tax rises under this brand new Labour government, but it seems that she is far the best person for the job. Now, when we look at the wider cabinet, Angela Rayner, who's the Deputy Prime Minister and also going to be the Minister for Housing and for Levelling Up, she is someone that's actually grown up in social housing, and that's seen as a real benefit. Social housing in the UK is under huge problems at the moment. Lots of people are homeless. Lots of people don't have good living conditions. And so someone like Angela Rayner will be able to tap into that. She knows what she's talking about in that particular department. David Lammy has been a Labour politician for 20 years in his constituency in Tottenham, and he is the new Foreign Secretary. Now, he is going to be very busy almost immediately. You have that NATO summit coming up next week. We know that Keir Starmer has spoken to President Joe Biden already, and they want to maintain that special relationship. But next week at that NATO summit will be all about this Labour government nailing their colours to the mast and letting the world know where they are on the world stage. We are involved in 2 ongoing wars, Russia-Ukraine, as well as the Israel-Gaza conflict. And a lot of Labour MPs did lose their seats to pro-Palestinian independence. And that is something that David Lammy is going to have to get to grips with. He did address that earlier on. But when it comes to Labour's position on the international stage, David Lammy, along with Keir Starmer, are going to be very busy. Wes Streeting, also notable as the Health Secretary, he had kidney cancer. He said the NHS saved his life, and now it's his turn to save the NHS.
A very big one there, I must say. Now, we know that Keir Starmer has like a 5-point agenda, and part of those is to deal with the issue around cost of living crisis and, of course, the health hiccups that characterized last year in the country. Now that he has a new cabinet, what do you think people should expect looking at this 5-point agenda and every other areas that is meant to, of course, bring solutions to?
Well, this first 100 days is going to be crucial for Keir Starmer and this Labour government. You mentioned the cost of living crisis there, and there's so much to that. It's so multifaceted. It's about inflation. It's about the price of petrol, of housing, of how much people are going to be paid. There's so much to dig into there that the Prime Minister needs to get a grip on. People want more money in their pockets, more money in their wage packets at the end of the week, and that's something that he is going to have to deal with. The National Health Service, like I mentioned, West Streeting knows, he says that he's treating the NHS as broken and that it needs to be fixed. We have had doctors and nurses on strike almost consistently for the past 2 years. We had doctors on strike on the past few weeks, actually, as well. We know that the doctors' unions are going to meet with West Streeting at the beginning of next week. So he's working on that issue. Immigration is another huge one. We are thinking that Keir Starmer and this Labour government will repeal the Rwanda plan that the Conservative government put in place to try and deter illegal migration and to try and offload some asylum seekers. Now, what the Labour government will want to do is to be able to process asylum seekers that are here and find a way to stop people making that dangerous crossing from France to England over the English Channel. It doesn't feel like the Rwanda plan is the right way to do that. It's not a deterrent and it costs billions of pounds, but there needs to be some alternatives. So those will be just some of the issues that are the top of Keir Starmer's in tray and will be really paramount in this first 100 days.
And of course, when you look at King Charles III, it seems quite relaxed, of course, with whatever or whoever would have clinched that particular ticket, which unfortunately falls on Starmer's desk. Now, you have mentioned a few priorities or key areas that Starmer will be looking into. How do you think that fits into the ideology or the aspiration of King Charles in terms of what he hopes to achieve in his time?
Well, the thing with King Charles III is that he has to remain apolitical. So he can't necessarily come out and support one party or the other. One of the big issues that King Charles is passionate about is the environment and is about waste and waste food and waste products. On his 75th birthday, he announced a plan, or he put into place a project which is all about redistributing waste food from restaurants and supermarkets and redistributing that to food banks and to people in need. Now, the Labour Party's environment policies are more robust than the previous Conservative government, getting to net zero, maintaining sustainable development goals for 2030, which is only 6 years away. And that is something that King Charles III has always been passionate about, the environment and sustainability. So absolutely, King Charles III and Sir Keir Starmer will find common ground on those issues. Like I said, King Charles III has to remain apolitical. You will never hear him saying or declaring any of his political views in public, but he does have certain issues that he's passionate about. The environment is a big one, and that's something that him and Sir Keir Starmer will connect on.
All right, just one more thing, Afua, before I quickly let you go. What was it about the Conservatives that the people got tired of?
I think it was 14 years of driving the United Kingdom into the ground. Well before the COVID-19 pandemic, we had austerity. We had the banks crashing. And, you know, it's been a lot for the United Kingdom. People have seen less money in their pockets, worse housing conditions, worse state of the NHS. I think people needed a change. And actually, what worked most in Keir Starmer's favour is that he is not Rishi Sunak. And what worked most for the Labour Party was that they are not the Conservatives. People just want a party that wants to do something different, that is for the people and is about changing or trying to better some of the things that affect people's daily lives here in the United Kingdom. And I think that's why there was such a huge vote away from the Conservative Party. The story of this election is not not just about the Labour Party win. It's about the Conservative Party loss. It's about the fact that so many people turned away from the Conservative Party to the Liberal Democrats, to the Reform Party, to the Green Party, to the Independents, not just to the Labour Party. Now, when it comes to the Conservative Party and them rebuilding, we could see them out of politics for the next 10 years. However, in 2019, we were saying the exact same thing about the Labour Party. And now here we are, 5 years later, and they are up 200 seats. That tells you how fickle politics can be, most certainly.
Afua Hagan, thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you.
You're watching Beyond the Continent. We'll be back in a short while. Do stay with us. Thanks for being there. French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal says his government would be able to ensure the continuity of the state for as long as necessary following Sunday's legislative elections. He was speaking during a final campaign visit to Paris. This comes as candidates were making their last pushes on Friday for the second and decisive round of voting after a 3-week campaign marked by hate speech, verbal abuse, and physical attacks. Tensions are high as left-wing and moderate groups try to prevent the anti-immigration nationalist National Rally from winning an absolute legislative majority, which would be a first and a major historical shift for France.
Ensuite, on verra ce qui se passera. Voilà, moi je ne veux pas dès aujourd'hui donner l'impression que j'enjambe le deuxième tour des élections parce que ça voudrait dire quelque part que je méprise un peu le vote des Français. Non, j'ai trop de respect pour les Français et pour leur vote pour être clair sur les choses. Encore une fois, on a un gouvernement qui est à pied d'œuvre, qui est mobilisé dans tous les secteurs et dans tous les domaines. Et évidemment, aussi longtemps que ce sera nécessaire, notre gouvernement le fera, bien sûr.
Sur la ligne, est-ce que vous avez un
national? La réalité, c'est qu'on a deux partis, le Rassemblement national, la France insoumise, quelque part prennent en otage avec ces discours absolument absurdes la démocratie et ses élections. Et donc moi, je suis très clair sur ce sujet-là. S'il y en a un qui a combattu la France insoumise et qui a par ailleurs été combattu par la France insoumise, c'est moi, la France insoumise.
Aujourd'hui, évidemment, tout se polarise, tout se tend. On est à 24 heures de la fin de campagne. On en appelle évidemment à la responsabilité, mais aussi à l'apaisement. Et ma famille politique se reconstruira.
In the meantime, President Emmanuel Macron's snap election gambit has caught everyone by surprise, not least French holidaymakers rushing to sign up for proxy voting in order to save their summer plans. The runoff vote will be the first legislative election to be held in July since France's Fifth Republic, which began in 1958 and comes a day after the start of the country's school holidays. French citizens who live abroad can vote online, but there will be no postal votes in these elections because of the shortness of the campaign. According to France's Interior Ministry, which oversees elections, more than 700,000 people registered for a proxy vote in just over a week after Macron's shock announcement.
Globalement, sur l'ensemble de ce week-end, on est à 1,2 million de passagers qui sont attendus dans les trains, donc 450 000 au départ de Paris. Et puis, on aura ce dimanche 87% de trains, un taux de remplissage de 87% de nos trains à date. Ça va peut-être, et ça va même sans doute encore augmenter. On est donc, si on compare les dates, un peu plus que l'année dernière, même aussi sur ce week-end en termes de taux de remplissage. Ce qu'on constate, c'est qu'il y a des gens qui ont décalé leurs vacances, mais ils vont quand même partir en vacances. Ils décalent, certains décalent leurs vacances, mais ça ne change pas le fait qu'on pense que cet été sera un très bon été. Il y a aussi un effet qui est lié au 14 juillet, mais là aussi c'est plutôt des décalages que des absences de départ ou des absences de vacances.
Non, c'était important de le faire, je crois, parce qu'on ne sait pas ce que ça va donner après. Mais c'est important de le faire. Non, j'aurais pas voulu partir sans voter. Hein. Non. J'ai donné ma procuration, c'est fait.
Dans les jambes, c'était pas le moment. Pas avant les vacances. pas avant d'aller se reposer un peu, et pour ceux qui peuvent se reposer, aller se déplacer. Pour ceux qui sont coincés chez eux, qui n'ont pas forcément les moyens, d'essayer quand même de profiter un peu du calme et de ne pas se retrouver comme ça à courir partout pour trouver la procuration, pour trouver des gens avec qui aller voter, pour se retrouver empêtrés dans des faux sites qui ont été mis en place pour essayer de récupérer des procurations d'un peu partout sans que ce soit les vrais sites du gouvernement. C'était pas le moment. C'était pas le moment de... Pardon, mais de jouer au con.
Now I'll tell you that Germany's ruling coalition struck a 2025 budget deal on Friday after tough talks that nearly toppled the government, with Chancellor Olaf Scholz vowing the country would remain an anchor of stability in Europe. The budget crisis was one of the most serious to shake the uneasy three-party alliance since it took power in 2021, with supporters of austerity facing off against those calling for greater spending during weeks of tense talks. A collapse of the centre-left-led government could have had dramatic consequences for Europe's most populous country and across the continent just weeks after the far right made gains in European elections. With the stakes so high, Scholz, Social Democrats and their coalition partners, the Greens and the pro-business FDP, finally reached a compromise deal early on Friday.
Die Bundesregierung hat ihre Beratung über den Haushaltsentwurf 2025 nun abgeschlossen. Wie angekündigt wird das Kabinett in seiner nächsten Sitzung am 17. Juli, also in 12 Tagen, den Entwurf beschließen. Mit dem Haushalt 2025 haben wir uns auf eine breite Wachstumsinitiative verständigt, die wir am 17. Juli mit dem Haushalt als Ex-Punkte-Papier beschließen und dann in Gesetzentwürfe überführen. Wir machen es uns nicht wirklich immer leicht. Wir ringen hart um die Sache und wir suchen Kompromisse. Manchmal die halbe Nacht, manchmal die ganze Nacht. Warum? Weil die Alternative dazu eben keine Alternative ist. Die Nerven zu verlieren, hinzuschmeißen, vor der Verantwortung weg.
Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has vowed that the European Union's backing of Ukraine will not weaken despite Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's controversial trip to Moscow. Speaking at a press conference in Berlin, Scholz said Ukraine can count on its country's support. The German leader also said he will be watching the second round of France's parliamentary elections with concern after far-right gains in the vote's first round. Ukraine has been urgently calling on its Western backers to send more air defenses, with emphasis on the US-designed Patriot systems that are capable of shooting down Russian hypersonic missiles. More than 2 years into the Russian invasion, missile barrages and drone attacks have crippled Ukraine's electricity generation capacity.
Die Ukraine kann sich auf unsere Solidarität verlassen. Putin kann nicht darauf kalkulieren, dass die Solidarität nachlässt und dass die Unterstützung nachlässt, weder wegen fiskalischer Probleme einzelner Länder noch wegen der Tatsache, dass möglicherweise der politische Wille nicht überall gleichmäßig immer zu jeder Zeit zur Verfügung steht, sondern es ist ein klares Statement.
And that's all at this hour. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.